everybody, and welcome to the first edition of today's Ljubljana Talks here at IBTM World 2023. And join us here, of course, Gorazd and Jan from Congress Magazine and Toleranza Marketing, myself, Jan Oršić from Ljubljana Tourism Convention Bureau, and our first guest today is the lovely Jimena Gomez de la Flor from the European Flavour Association.
Thank you so much
Welcome.
for having me here. It's a really great experience. It's an honor that I'm the first guest of the day. I think very long, 3 days. And this looks amazing. Really excited to be here.
It's something that we like to do. And yes, it is amazing. Also thanks to our partner, IBTM, who provided us with this space, which is great. And let me just start off by asking you one thing. Flavor. What's the Flavour Association all about?
So the Flavour Association, I always say that we give taste to your life. So flavor is about creating those products that will then go to your food and will make them taste good, taste different. It's the vanilla you can put in yogurt, but it's also those flavorings that might go in a plant-based burger, because this is also a direction in which we're going in sustainability when we're talking about plant-based alternatives or reduction of salt, sugar. There are some products that they need to still be tasty, so the consumers will still enjoy it, and it will not be a pain, I have to give up my steak, but you will actually enjoy all these alternatives. They have to be tasty, they have to be memorable to you, they have to be something that you really enjoy, and that's what we do. We put flavor on those products.
So can you explain this a little bit in numbers? How big is this industry? Because I don't have a clue actually. So
it's not that much, to be honest. It's a very niche industry because you need just one drop of flavoring to flavor the actual final product. So we have, it might be a, 1% of the final product, but it makes all the difference because that's what then makes the product be chosen. So we're talking about 10,000 workers, about 300 companies, a lot of SMEs in Europe. And probably I have to say I work for the European Flavour Association, so it's not only about the flavor industry, of course, but the association industry. So getting all these people get together, we have members from companies, but also from the national associations. So we make sure that we get them together, we exchange good practices, we have a forum for them to talk, and we are based in Brussels, and we are then the spokesperson of the association to then talk with the EU institutions and the way back also to gather all the policies that are coming and bring it to our membership.
So usually association congresses stick to certain rules and frameworks, I would say. But what is the formula for a successful event or association meeting?
I think it's for sure to make it memorable, because that's something that it's very intrinsic in our industry. We want the people to enjoy. We keep saying that it's a passion industry. I actually love that you like the name of my association. Flavor industry maybe brings some dreams. But as a matter of fact, some people in the industry were joking that we should be called European Passion Association, because we actually have a big passion to food. Of course, we're not going to do that, but it has to be about that. It has to be about something that is memorable. We always try in our events to do a tasting session in which we explain what we're talking about. So we first have trends, consumers, we might have some regulatory parts, and then say, so what I just explained, this is what I mean. And we always have a tasting session in which they can understand what we're trying to do. We created the Flavour of Europe for our latest audience, because we want to give them something that will remember back home. There's indeed so many conferences that people attend, and they might forget about some of the key messages of some of those. We want to give them that.
We kind of touched on this before, and it's about the trends and changes and new practices. But where are you now? How many events do you do a year? How big are they? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so we have a very flexible model, let's say. So we started doing the Flavor Days. We at the European Flavour Association designed the event. It is how it should look like. So indeed we have trends, we have consumers, we have a tasting session. And we created all the branding around it. but then we give the package, let's say, to the national associations, and they can adapt it to the best of their culture, their cultural trends, also what the association needs most. If they want to focus with customers, they want to focus on policymakers or members sometimes. And they are the ones actually organizing it. They're doing an amazing job. We just had 3 flavor days this year in Milan, Berlin, and Paris. We have another one in London next year. So it really depends on what the national associations need and how as we were saying, we have to find the why are we doing this, and they have to find a reason. It's the Olympics in Paris next year or the elections in Berlin. So we have to find a reason and then make whatever fits best the national culture while keeping the European brand. So we connect all flavor days with each other. We communicate in a coherent way to make sure that this exchange of good practices is always there.
Flavors are a science. There's a science behind it.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of, things to do with human mind, with neuroscience, with culture as well. So how do you adapt? How do you see your way forward as an association? How do you, if there's a constant development in the flavors industry, do you as an association always also apply certain novelties and new approaches?
Absolutely, for sure. Because indeed, it's an extremely creative industry. It's a very innovative industry. The industry spend about 10% in R&D, which is huge compared to the European average. It's much bigger than what the food industry invests in innovation, because we are bringing that innovation to the products, which means that it's always forward, it's always thinking about the next 5 trends. And of course, we have to follow. So, for example, now it's not new, but it's been accelerated also with the pandemic of the plant-based products. This is something, of course, the industry are doing. There's a lot of science involved. There's a lot of regulation involved also. And the European Commission is regulating. The EU Green Deal is huge, the Farm to Fork strategy, and there's a lot of specific regulation coming in that sense, incentivizing also certain type of products, trying, of course, to make it more sustainable, conscious diets, organic. How does it mean exactly from a regulatory point of view? So we as an association have to take those trends that are now interesting for our members and were not 15 years ago and bring it to the policymakers. Here, this is how we can help, this is how it affects our industry. And also the other way, we have to anticipate what the EU policymakers are doing on those trends that were not relevant 5 years ago and bring it to the company and say, beware, because your innovation is not only based on consumer trends now and what the client wants, it was the policymaker is asking you to do. You should better innovate now, because in 2 years it will be a mandatory thing, will be a regulatory requirement. So start changing now your production methods. So have to adapt very much.
What about AI in this regards, actually? Is it helpful to your association, or is it dangerous to you, or how does it feel actually?
I'm personally using it a lot, and now I'm really talking just with Jimena Gomez, because indeed I think it can totally change the game for obviously the whole world, but for communicators in particular. Yeah. And if I don't want to lose my job, I have to immediately understand how this tool works and make the best out of it. For sure, the industry is doing it, but the flavor industry is using it, but that's a different discussion. For associations in particular, I think it's very important to understand how we can use it. I think that companies are quite advanced in doing it in general. Even regulators seem to be following the path. I have the feeling that associations are not quite there yet, because often they're small secretariats and we're not sure how to use it. And actually, here at IBTM, in the context of the Associations Leader Forum, invited by the European Society of Association Executives, for a talk about the use of AI in associations, because we at SI and the communications community noticed that indeed there's a huge gap to be filled. There are a lot of things that we could learn and use now already. Since ChatGPT was launched already a year ago, they've made 2 really huge upgrades. The latest one was about 2-3 weeks ago, in which you can actually create your own ChatGPT for your own customized needs. So that's what I'm going to do later today. Where I'm going to create one specifically for small secretariats that work in the conference business association, which kind of specific ChatGPT we could create together. Hopefully with the input from the audience, we will actually create one because it's that easy, it's that quick. Then, of course, there's a lot of due diligence to be done, and you have to be very sure of what you want to do and how to prompt it right. Prompt engineering is crucial. You have to validate, you have to make sure that you're giving a certain context and to not get out of that, because then indeed, otherwise it can get complicated. There are many challenges, but I think it has to be seen as a tool. We are the humans, we have the creative mind, we can imagine what it can do, and we have to prompt it extremely specifically. It's a bit, I think, like Aladdin's lamp, if you don't wish right, it can really be even again. Yeah, exactly. So it is really crucial to prompt it right, to understand it, to prompt it right, to validate, and to keep validating through the life cycle. Because you can say it's good, we can launch, and then it will gather other inputs and might not go in the direction you want. So it's extremely to keep controlling it. And I think it's in a way also as it will be with a new junior colleague. You will just not say, okay, go talk to the board member. You train that person very carefully, you know what you need, and then you take responsibility also for their mistakes, because you're the one having eventually the subsidiarity of that. So, and knowing that you have responsibility for that, you have to be extremely careful before you launch something. But it can really help a lot, and I'm using it a lot in tedious tasks that can be just accelerated. Then you go, correct the draft, but you don't have to start from scratch, which is really good.
But you are also kind of media house as association. I see this role of any association in the world. You're a trustworthy source of information.
Absolutely.
And how to maintain this with the AI? Probably the associations will be even more important as a trustworthy source of communication. What can you say about it?
We were indeed thinking, could we use an AI chatbot to answer questions about flavors? Then we should, of course, we already have a lot of the information of what we want to say in other public domain. We have the website, we have the brochure, we have infographics, videos, like everyone. So would it be possible to give this material to the chatbot and then make it answer questions about this? It's possible to do it, but indeed, then it will become the trustworthy reference to your association. So it cannot be just done like that. You have to do an incredible work of engineering to make sure that it's going to use only the material you're giving, to make sure that it's going to go through a certain path. So, but I think it's really important, because otherwise someone else might do a chatbot about flavors, or someone else might do something about food in which they will talk about flavors. And there is, like in every industry, a lot of myths and misconceptions. And if someone else is going to do that, then I'd rather be there, accelerate myself, try to learn how the machine works, try to understand the challenges, try to know how to limit the space, and then be the one providing that information.
So from what we're talking about, I would understand that there is actually a challenge that you have in communicating about flavors to the general public.
Yes.
That's why you need AI. Would you
that's
say?
why we need to communicate.
Okay, yeah.
And in all the tools I'm using, AI is one of them.
So, in your opinion, there is, of course, always, a positive change. What for you would be a ideal meetings industry in this way? Does it, implement AI, sustainability? What do you see? How does this help us getting there?
I think for sure, again, it's a tool, and it's going to happen. Like sustainability is going to happen, and AI is going to happen. So ideally, our responsibility now is to make sure that we do it right. We have to put everything in place. We have to regulate it right. We have to understand it right, and we have to anticipate the challenges so we can do it in a way that it will indeed benefit most of the people. That's the problem with AI, that it might have the bias that the society already have. AI is only taking information that humans have created, and humans have created a lot of biased information. And we are learning to undo that bias only in the last 10 years.
Okay.
And AI is banking on information that was created in the past, 100 years. So, and it's going so fast that I don't know if we're going to be able to create enough information for it not to be biased and to be even dangerous for people that are not the main group. So it's important. The ideal industry is something that understands this and starts working on it now. So when we get there, it's already a better version of it.
So you know where you want to be.
Exactly. We have to know.
So perhaps the solution is to learn the AI how to taste flavors.
That is happening already, but it's indeed not the same. Will always be that human touch, because AI can do that, can analyze. AI is only about big data. It's not intelligent. It's just analyzing big data. And of course, there's a lot of data about trends in flavors, so it can do that. It can pair. We're just looking at this, nice plate with wine and grapes, cheese, etc. So it can do that and say this wine goes very well with that cheese. Taste this combination. But we said before, it's about the experience, the memory, that cake that brings you to the way your grandmother used to do it. And that's the impact that only human can make. In our industry, the stars are the flavorists. These are people who might just roll themselves in a field of lavender to feel the experience and then go back to their workplace and create something. And we'll say, we have to work in a chicken masala product, but I'm not sure how it actually works. So they will call an in-house chef to cook chicken masala for the team. They will just have this really nice lunch. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So that kind of things can be done by AI, but you will always need that human emotion.
Very, very interesting. But we used to say that we learn from our mistakes. So which mistake will you never repeat from your events?
Okay, so now back to
Coming
before
back
AI.
to live events.
Exactly. So I think one mistake I did for sure in my first event was to think that little things that were not urgent can be procrastinators. Like I have to deal with these so many urgent things and important things that will then, so this, I can print the pens anytime, who cares? And then the deadline was arriving and then you don't have time for that anymore, because then there could all be problems, and then even the printer in the office stops working exactly the day in which you need to do something. So what I make sure to do is to get rid of all the little things that were actually easy at some point in time and became extremely problematic in another point of the timeline.
Very good. And what is your definition of sustainable event? What is ideal sustainable event from your point of view?
So I think we touched a bit upon this before. It's of course, it has to have sustainable elements. So we do our best to reduce the printing. For some things go digital. We give just a glass of water that everyone can just fill, and that's already making a big impact. But I think it's very important also to know why we're meeting. Was this meeting really necessary? Could it be a video conference? Because sometimes we have big trade shows like this, of course, makes sense. But sometimes you have just an actual meeting. You have people flying from all over the world for just exchanging something. And we should ask ourselves in that case, was this really necessary? Or should we focus on the time we meet we do meet, and then it's full in, and we have a creative session, and we have brainstorming, and we have breakout sessions, and then we get together and we create something together. We make this magic happen of being in the same room, looking at each other's eyes. Often when we have also international, we are the European Association, but we work also with the International Flavour Association. So you have the colleagues from Japan, from US, everywhere. And sometimes in online meetings, you might lose some social cues. You don't have non-verbal communication, or just by having coffee at some point, having dinner the night before, you think about something, then you develop it. So that magic is really important. It should keep happening. But we have to do, in my opinion, only those events where magic happens.
Jimena, if you look at our industry and we create events and we have AI coming in, and what would be your, let's say, message perhaps to your past self or future self that you would say, do this so that we'll be ready, or what would be your message to somebody who's starting in the industry?
I will just say the same thing that I keep telling my daughter when she complains she has to do the homework, etc. It's like, it's not done now. I mean, yeah, you have to do homework and you will graduate from primary school, and there's high school and there's university. You're not done. Then you have masters and you might have a PhD, and then you're not done. You're going to be into the working world, and you have to keep learning. And now I'm going to start a course in prompt engineering, because you always have to keep learning. So maybe just find something you're passionate about, because it will be outdated so quickly. You just have to keep learning every time. So there's nothing I will have studied before, because it will have been already outdated by now. Just have the mindset that you will have to keep learning all the time.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Have you heard about Conventa?
What's the right answer here?
No, everything is the right answer. I'm just asking. So, no or yes? No, not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
That's cool. So
Okay.
we have a lot of work to do, actually. And we need to invite you to Ljubljana in February 2024. And
We'd
my
love
last
to.
question is, which is always a simple one, train or car?
Train or car? Oh,
Yes.
train, definitively.
Can you
Always.
elaborate this
I
a little
love
bit?
it.
You
Well,
love it?
first of-
Okay.
I really love the idea of the trains moving, and you look at the paysage, and you can even you can go to the cafeteria and even have a conversation there. You really enjoy the trip. I personally really don't enjoy cars because I get car sick very quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
But in addition to that, I think that you really have this, again, experience in which you can exchange even with other people. You can meet the love of your life. I don't know.
Oh, very, very romantic, actually. Thanks, Jimena, for being
Thank you.
our first guest today.
Thanks a
lot for these
Thank
great
you.
insights. Stay tuned and come back 11:30.